Okay, so thank you all for attending my presentation this session on microbiota that boosts the immune system, especially in the elderly. So today I will be discussing the 6 different topics. First, a brief overview of the microbiota, and then immune deterioration and changes related to aging, a little bit about our product, short chain fatty acids, the immune system, vagus nerve, and dietary importance that goes along with taking our supplement. Before I do that, here's our team. So I'm Kristen. We also have Chris, Aisling, and Anna, who is our team leader. So first, the microbiota is home to billions of cells. In fact, there's a ratio of 1-to-1 between bacterial cells and humans, especially in our gut. So the gut is what we're focusing on today. The composition of the gut microbiota is imperative to human health. A healthy gut microbiota consists of 4 main bacterial phyla. The more populous commensal bacteria, Firmicutes and Bacteroides, and the pathogenic or detrimental bacteria, Proteobacteria and Actinobacteria. If the ratio of pathogenic to commensal bacteria in the gut is too high, then dysbiosis occurs and an individual's health is likely to decline. Fortunately, there are various ways to restore a healthy microbial composition in the gut if dysbiosis occurs. And one of those ways is the administration of an oral probiotic containing live microorganisms, which is what our product will consist of. Next, we'll explain why we created this product and what exact problems in the elderly that we're trying to prevent with it. So, age-related immune deterioration and changes. Immunosenescence refers to the deterioration of the immune system caused by natural aging. There are many problems identified with immunosenescence, such as lower levels of short-chain fatty acid producing bacteria. Immunosenescence is also associated with lower absorption of nutrients, which places the elderly at higher risk for malnutrition. Additionally, immunosenescence leads to reduced diversity in gut microbiota and shifts in dominant species, notably with a decrease in the commensal or positive microorganisms. Finally, immunosenescence causes chronic inflammation or inflammaging, which is believed to cause unhealthy aging and deterioration of immune function. So there are 3 major theories of immunosenescence, as I have listed here. The first is the autoimmunity theory, which states that as a person ages, the immune system's ability to differentiate between invaders and normal tissues diminishes and causes the immune cells to begin attacking normal body tissues. This theory is best used to explain conditions such as arthritis, which are caused by a similar process of autoimmunity. The second theory is the immunodeficiency theory, which states that with increasing age, the immune system becomes generally incapable of defending the body from foreign invaders. And the final theory is the immune dysregulation theory, which states that with aging, changes in the immune system disrupt the process of regulation between the components of the immune process. This implies the progressive destruction of body cells. So now I'm going to go into a little bit more detail about inflammation. So inflammation is a chronic state of low-grade inflammation that accompanies the aging process. Inflammation is characterized by increased circulating cytokines and pro-inflammatory markers. Pro-inflammatory cytokines play an essential role in the immune system and are responsible for initiating the inflammatory response, which prevents the initial establishment of infection and removes damaged tissue. Additionally, they regulate the host defense against pathogens, mediating the innate immune response. The balance between pro-inflammatory cytokines and anti-inflammatory cytokines is what's important. And a cytokine storm is what happens when pro-inflammatory cytokines become problematic. So we have those cytokines and the inflammation in this red part of this diagram I have here, and then the green and blue parts will go into more detail when we talk about the different types of immune cells in further slides. And inflammation is associated with many age-related diseases such as Alzheimer's, osteoporosis, and diabetes. And research indicates that specific pro-inflammatory cytokines are noted to have potentially greater effects on inflammation. So now I'm going to go into a little more detail about our product. So our product will work to reduce the immune deterioration that's associated with aging. And it's recommended to be taken before these age-related negative effects, including inflammation, begin to occur. So therefore, middle-aged individuals age 50 and older will be our target consumers. There are approximately 108.7 million individuals in the United States who are at least 50 years old. In 2019, the immune health supplements market size was valued at $16.32 billion in North America. This market was specifically valued at $29.4 billion at 7.4% compound annual growth rate in the United States, which suggests that a supplement addressing the health of the gut microbiome will be in high demand by consumers. Our product should be taken once daily for a month, and then once a week for at least 3 to 4 months. As every person's gut microbiome composition is different, the consumer should consult with their doctor for recommendations on how long is appropriate to continue using our product. And our product will work by introducing a combination of bacterial species that will produce metabolites into the gut, inevitably preventing deterioration of the immune system. And in terms of similar products that are available now, we've researched probiotics claiming to boost immune function with a focus on doing so in the elderly. And we found that probiotics in the market typically contained less species than what would be contained in our probiotic. In addition, while some probiotics on the market contain overlapping species, they don't have the full unique combination of species that our probiotic will contain. So we believe that our probiotic would work better on the market than the ones that are on the market right now due to the greater diversity and beneficial species within our product, which would lead to greater effects. So now I'm going to give you a little bit more information about how our product works. So I will go into detail about short-chain fatty acids, boosting the immune system, and the relation of these microbiota produced metabolites with the vagus nerve. So first, the short-chain fatty acids. Commensal bacteria have evolved to play an important role in modulating health through various pathways, including the production of metabolites, which are products of metabolism. Short-chain fatty acids, or SCFAs, as you may see it abbreviated throughout the presentation, are a key bacterial metabolite produced by the fermentation of undigested fibers in the colon. Short-chain fatty acids are carboxylic acids differentiated by a carbon tail of 2 to 6 carbons. And the main and most impactful short-chain fatty acid that we found throughout our research is butyrate, which has a 4 carbon tail, so it's 1 on the bottom. And then you can count the 1, 2, 3, 4. Then we have propionate with 3 carbon tails, so 1, 2, 3, and then acetate with 2, 1, 2. The production of butyrate, acetate, and propionate is an example of a starting point of various pathways in which commensal bacteria modulate the gut microbiota composition and help our immune systems function. And among many benefits provided by short-chain fatty acids are the use of them as an energy source, the regulation of immune cells and their function, and even improvement of the absorption of nutrients. Now, a little bit more information about the different immune cells that these short-chain fatty acids may stimulate. So there are 2 major parts to the immune system. We have the innate immune response and the adaptive immune response. And this slide is going into detail about the innate immune response. There are different functions that the skin and epithelial mucosal cells have. So mechanically, epithelial mucosal cells have tight junctions that house transmembrane proteins and goblet cells. These tight junctions give pathogens a more difficult time trying to cross between cells. And the main function of the goblet cell is to secrete mucus. In the gastrointestinal tract, mucus is of importance to create movement along with cilia, which prevents the colonization and acquisition of nutrients by the pathogens. Another main function of the innate immune response is to recruit and stimulate other immune cells for the adaptive response. So I'm going to talk a little bit about cytokines, which is a general term that can be more specific depending on function. Other types of cytokines are interleukins, interferons, tumor necrosis factor, and chemokines. And these proteins are messengers of the immune system that target specific cell receptors to enhance or stimulate a response. And cytokine activation is stimulated or enhanced with our products through the production of those metabolites, as I've mentioned. Another area of stimulation would be the activation of macrophages. Macrophages come from the maturation of monocytes and have the main function of phagocytosis. There are also antigen presenting cells, or APCs. Another type of APC is the dendritic cell, which is the main bridge between the innate immune response I'm talking about now and the adaptive immune response on the next slide. Finally, the most abundant leukocyte in the body is the neutrophil, which has two main functions of lysing cells through phagocytosis and through the use of neutrophil extracellular traps. And so we have some of these things that I've discussed before. So neutrophils are a type of lymphocyte. The macrophages that do phagocytosis. This granulocyte would also be a type of lymphocyte, but different lymphocytes have different names. And this just has like molecules on the inside of it that it would release to attach to pathogens. The mast cell is another branch of the macrophage. And then we have these endothelial cells and fibroblasts that all of these end up releasing these cytokines or signaling molecules to tell the other immune cells that something that is present that shouldn't be, and it's time to clear it out of the system, the body system. So the adaptive immune response, there are two main cell types associated with the adaptive immune response, T cells and B cells. And there are three main types of T cells. There are the CD cells, which stands for a cluster of differentiation. You have the CD4 plus and the CD8 plus cells. While the CD8 cells are cytotoxic, the CD4 plus cells release cytokines, what we've talked about in previous slides. And there are also memory T cells that remember the interactions with foreign microbes and launch the appropriate responses in the future. The main function of B cells is that they produce antibodies. And there are also memory B cells that function similarly to memory T cells. And our product will help to strengthen the responses produced by T and B cells. So next, I'm going to talk about the vagus nerve, because the metabolites that our product would produce should also stimulate this nerve. So the vagus nerve is the 10th cranial nerve. It's the longest cranial nerve and extends from its origin in the brainstem through the neck, down the thorax to the abdomen. And that's what this image is showing. It starts at the back of the brain and then extends into the neck and to a bunch of different organs. The vagus nerve provides bidirectional signaling from the brain to the organs of the digestive and cardiovascular system, as well as innervating the laryngeal and pharyngeal muscles of the neck. Vagal nerve efferents, which are nerve fibers that control muscular contraction and glandular secretions, compose 20% of the total vagal nerve fibers, while the other 80% is made up of vagal nerve afferents, which are sensory nerves that detect changes in the chemical and mechanical composition of the innervated organs. And while vagal afferents detect environmental changes within the gut and send this information back to the brain, vagal efferent fibers innervate muscular and mucosal layers of the gut. Okay, so in the intestines, the vagal efferent fibers, which are the motor fibers, regulate the contraction of smooth muscle and glandular secretion through their innervation of the muscular and mucosal layers of the gut. Conversely, the vagal afferents, which is what we're seeing here, these afferent fibers include mucosal mechanoreceptors, chemoreceptors, and tension receptors in the gut, liver, and pancreas, which detect environmental changes within these organs and send this information back to the brain. Importantly, the vagus nerve can be stimulated by a number of metabolites produced by the gut microbiota, and the vagus nerve innervates these gut epithelial cells, and the production of metabolites allows for communication between the vagus nerve and the gut microbiota. And so these are the epithelial cells that are also producing these metabolites. And so there's a bidirectional communication. The vagus nerve is stimulating the cells within the gut and communicating to the gut microbiota through these epithelial cells. And then in turn, the epithelial cells are releasing these metabolites, and that's communicating with the brain. And then we also have the immune cells that we discussed earlier, like the macrophages and the neutrophils that are releasing cytokines that are also communicating with the brain. So finally, the Mediterranean diet is something that we would suggest that patients adhere to alongside taking our probiotic. The Mediterranean diet has been known as a prevention and therapeutic method for cardiovascular disease and prolonging mortality. And it consists of meals that revolve around fruits and vegetables, with the main source of fat being olive oil. It's made up of monounsaturated fatty acids and polyunsaturated fatty acids, which are overall healthier. And additionally, it's not meat protein focused. Instead, most of the protein is obtained from plants. And the reason this diet works is because of 5 different mechanisms, including lipid lowering, protection against oxidative stress, modification of hormones and growth factors with cancer, inhibition of nutrient sensing pathways of specific amino acid restriction, and gut microbiota mediated production of metabolites, which will influence metabolic health. And additionally, the Mediterranean diet includes an increase in fiber, which leads to the increase in short chain fatty acid production. So overall, our product has the ability to boost the immune system of the elderly through the manipulation of the gut microbiota. This is due to relationships the product has with age-related immune deterioration and changes, short-chain fatty acids, immune response, the vagus nerve, and additional dietary changes. Thank you so much for taking the time to attend and listen to our presentation. We have a gut feeling that you learned something new.